The Democrats taking what they say is their largest, most concrete step yet towards an impeachment probe of Donald Trump. The House Judiciary Committee voting today on the rules and procedures for this impeachment investigation. Now, this is real. It's written down. You can see what the plans are. It authorizes things like authorizing the staff attorneys to question witnesses, a sign of a deeper type of inquiry, setting formal rules for how classified material would be handled throughout the probe, and giving Donald Trump's lawyers their due process rights to respond to the committee.
This committee is engaged in an investigation that will allow us to determine whether to recommend articles of impeachment with respect to President Trump. That is what we are doing. Some call this process an impeachment inquiry. Some call it an impeachment investigation. There's no legal difference between these terms, and I no longer care to argue about the nomenclature.
That's the new message. Chairman Nadler saying, look, there's no formal legal difference, and he doesn't want to have talk about words. Well, that's one view. Now look at what the top Republican on this committee says, because it actually tracks with what some liberal critics say, that this whole exercise is still far short of a real impeachment probe, and the Democrats are just afraid to go there.
This stays in the committee. It doesn't go outside the committee. This does not go to the House floor. So they're covering for their moderates who don't want to vote for impeachment. They're a vast majority of those who don't want anything to do with this.
Doesn't go to the House floor. And Speaker Pelosi, who spent months avoiding the entire impeachment question, basically doubled down on that dodging tactic today.
Do you agree, do you concede now that an impeachment inquiry into President Trump is underway?
Do I concede now? Have you not paid attention to what we've been talking about? For months, we've been saying we're doing three things: legislate, investigate, litigate. That's the path we have been on, and that's the path we continue to be on. I'm not answering any more questions on this subject.
This is interesting in terms of where this fight is going. The Speaker saying that she does support what Nadler calls an impeachment investigation, but she won't actually call it that, and she's clapping back at anyone who wants to get into the details. Now, look, there's plenty of good faith debate here, but if this message about something of this level of import sounds confusing, that's because it is. This is like Speaker Pelosi kind of taking what was the Nadler position, remember, from right before Congress went on this break.
Do you believe President Trump will ultimately leave office being impeached by this House, regardless of timeline?
I don't know.
And why didn't we file again today?
Thank you very
Chairman
much.
Nadler.
Will they impeach? We'll see. I don't know. You could call that credit for candor, but if you're trying to get something done in law or politics, you usually need to say what you're trying to get done. Now, the new moves here are a little more emphatic, but honestly, when we try to analyze this and we look at the facts and try to tell you what it seems like as it comes in, as we look at the rules, it's not moving by a whole lot. And there is a lot here for Democrats to try to figure out, because obviously they can investigate and decide what to do about Donald Trump's actions well beyond anything that Mueller found in his investigation, which is authorized only through the Justice Department, through the Trump administration. There's these separate hush money payments to women. There's the ongoing questions about whether Donald Trump is enriching himself through the presidency, and even if that's not a felony, is that something that Congress wants to act on? There's all sorts of avenues in any impeachment probe, if it is a full-blown impeachment probe. You can't do something as significant as move towards removing a sitting president from office if you can't even concede that is where you're headed and trying to do. Now, are there comparisons here? Is this all just sort of analysis from the newsroom bleachers? Well, there are some precedents. We all know about them. We remember them. And it can be useful to just take stock of what it does sound like when the opposing party stands up and clearly tells the nation they are trying to impeach a president.
The President of the United States did commit impeachable offenses. I would submit that he should be impeached, that the evidence is clear. There is no question that he has subverted our system of government, and he should be impeached, unfortunately.
Boom. Right down the middle. That's what it sounds like when the opposition party is saying, let's impeach the president. That was Congressman Bill McCollum, a Judiciary Committee member on the Republican side. And he was saying to the nation on the House floor what the Republican Party stood for. They wanted to impeach Bill Clinton in 1998. That level of clarity, I think it's fair to observe, is not yet what we're hearing from the Democratic caucus. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.